So I was at the Broad Museum this week. It's a gallery in downtown that displays modern art, which apparently isn't that modern at all. Do you know modern art includes work created from around the 1890s to around the 1970s, while contemporary art includes art created from the 1970s to now? Isn't that weird? I mean, modern art isn't modern, and contemporary art eventually won't be all that contemporary. That's crazy to me. Why would they name things like that? So I waited 2 hours in the heat to get into this gallery. I was not a happy camper, but I was doing it because my wife took off work, and I love her. So, oh man, I was trying so hard not to complain. I don't like lines. But at the end of the day, I was blown away. It was amazing. It was one of the most worthwhile lines I've ever stood in my entire life. So if you don't know what modern art is, it's that shit nobody likes. Or so I thought. You know, circles and weird paintings that look like anybody could have drawn them. Jackson Pollock and shit like that. But this wasn't like that at all. I mean, there were a couple of pieces like that, but it opened my eyes to so many other things. There were mixed media pieces. There were enormous chairs. There were balloon animals made out of some sort of metallic surface. And there were beautiful, weird, unique art pieces. These weren't impressionistic. These weren't realistic. There was one of, I guess it was supposed to represent consumerism, but it was basically a consumerism monster with like 8 tits vomiting money. And then people were drowning on it while they were sucking on the teats as well. It was super fucking weird and awesome. It was like nothing else I'd ever seen in modern art. Why didn't anyone tell me modern art could be good? And of course, there was one painting that was just a green, broken line. Just painted green, like the single color green line. The kind of green that you would make as a background if you were to do a painting. And then the guy just said, fuck it. I'm still angry about that one painting. But the rest of them were awesome. The thing is, they weren't necessarily good. I mean, they didn't technically measure up to the great masters. They didn't measure up to even comic book artists like Miller or even Frank Cho. I mean, those guys are technically gifted artists making incredibly proficient art. The artists at the Broad couldn't hold a candle to them in raw talent alone, and yet I felt something at each piece in those galleries. Something more than I do when I look at a lot of comic book art. Now, it wasn't about technical proficiency. No, it definitely was not about technical proficiency. What they had was a point of view. Everything evoked an emotion inside of me. Everything was meant to comment on the human condition. Every bio of every artist talked about the themes in their work and how they commented on the world. It's kind of fucking brilliant marketing. I mean, you just make a green, broken line and say it comments on minimalism. But still, I felt something at every single one of these paintings. Can't say that I've ever felt anything when I looked at a realist painting or even an impressionist painting. Besides, that's pretty. But these, they evoked an emotion. And somehow, I liked them more than the technically proficient paintings that I'd seen my whole life. Now, there was one painter in the gallery with the technical skill to rival the masters. In a painting of a face that looked like it could have been a photograph. You've probably seen things like this all over the internet. The thing was, it was hidden in the back corner of the gallery at the end of a long hallway. If you know anything about gallery hangings, it's not a very important spot. In fact, there's very few other less important spots in the entire gallery. Meanwhile, that same fucking artist who painted green on a canvas and said, fuck it, I'm done, was hung at eye level when you entered one of the main gallery rooms. In case you don't know, a painting hung at eye level across from a doorway is considered a very important spot. So while one artist was more technically talented, a painting of a flat green background was hung in a more prominent spot in this very prestigious gallery. Why? There's only one reason I can think of. Point of view. Those other paintings evoked an emotion. That stupid green background painting talked about minimalism, calming your mind, cutting out distractions, shuffling off the consumerist culture. It meant something. It meant something to people. That beautiful painting that was technically proficient was nice to look at, but there was no point outside of its own beauty. It got me thinking about comic book careers and artist careers in comics. Why some very technically proficient artists can't get work, while others, less technically proficient, rise through the ranks and have huge followings. I mean, why does that happen? And I think I figured it out. It comes down to point of view. These artists have a point of view. They have something they're trying to say. I mean, I know it's hard to have point of view when you're starting out, but unfortunately, I think that's what gets people over the top. We just want to feel something. People are emotional beings. Those artists who chase fans fade. They fade over time. Those people with a point of view, they're the ones that stick around, even if they're not as talented as other people. It reminds me of zines a lot. I love zines, but they are not as technically proficient as other kinds of art. You can never put a zine up to a Marvel comic and compare the two. However, I love the zines more because they're personal, because they mean something. Those ones are somebody's soul. A book from Marvel is pretty, but doesn't mean anything. I mean, look at Frank Miller's work. Why has it stood the test of time? Why is Alan Moore's, or Jonan Vasquez, or Scotty Young, Neil Adams, Darwin Cook, Mark Miller, Mark Waid? I mean, the list goes on and on. These are all people that have a point of view. Because at the top level, everyone can write, man. Everyone can write way better than you. It's so intimidating how well these people write. And so why do some of them get ahead and some of them fall behind? It comes down to that point of view. You see it all over their work. And that's why they stand out from the rest. Even if they don't have the raw talent to compete, their point of view can still bring them to the top. So you can't be scared to say something with your art, because it's in saying something that you evoke a reaction. It's in evoking a reaction that leads to people being drawn to your work. And when people say you aren't anybody until you have haters, it's not because haters are good. It's because hate is an emotion. And if you can evoke that emotion, you can evoke others as well. Emotions like love and loyalty, the kinds of emotions that keep people coming back to your work for your entire career. So I'm going to leave you with a question. What is your point of view?